Somebody didn't mute. I'm getting a horrible echo. Still getting an echo. Somebody didn't mute. I'm getting a horrible echo. There. Okay. Now it's fixed. Wow.
It was you?
No, I think it was Dane. Still getting an echo. Wow. Yes, for the last show, we're going to have tons of technical difficulties. Yeah, okay, now it's fixed. All right, let's get on with the show here.
It was you?
All right, that was not me. I was muted
No,
all the way around.
I think it was Dane.
It was not me.
Still getting
No.
an echo.
Who's echoing?
What in the
It is not
world?
me. It is James who is getting the echo. I muted everyone.
Now I hear staticky mic.
Staticky mic.
Oh, yes.
Zed.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, I can see his, whatever. All right, let's just get this thing started.
Did it go away?
Now it did.
Is it back?
After all
No,
that,
it's gone.
let me get to the chat too, because, yeah, I don't need chat right now. That's fine. So let's just get this out
James
of the way.
doesn't need you.
Yeah.
If you were to
Doesn't
follow a
need
busy
you.
doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
Welcome to Inside Vaping. Some things are changing. Welcome to the final episode of Inside Vaping. We are excited to announce our partnership with several major tobacco companies. We realized that without the money and assistance of Big Tobacco, this show was doomed to failure. Moving forward, this show will be known as Inside Smoking. It's obvious to us now that flavors are something which would truly only appeal to toddlers and young children. The truth is, over 50 years ago, doctors told us that smoking was completely safe. And the myth that smoking is hazardous to your health has been bandied about by the mainstream media for way too long. Basically, what we've said is enough is enough. It's time for us to mobilize and educate. Am I right or am I right?
That's right.
More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette.
More doctors. Even that doctor who looks like Lyndon Baines Johnson. He does too.
Jerry's on board, aren't you, Jerry?
I'm on board. Marble lights. Fuck it.
Perfect. Looks like a natural.
Welcome to Inside Emphysema, as Ed likes to call us.
That's right. This is not a paid advert. Oh, Ed's got his too. Look at that.
Yeah.
Is that a holder?
Sponsored by Holiday Inn.
It's like Franklin Roosevelt.
Holiday Inn.
He's got a pen. I actually have a Black and Mild. This is Black and Mild Cream.
I have a pipe over there.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Wait, it gets better.
it does.
Did he put it in his ear? No. Well, look at
He's
that.
vaping through the pen.
Wisps of smoke.
It's a pity that's not how a cigarette normally works.
You don't
He's just
blow
trying to
it.
stoke a coal at the end of it. Oh, boy. So, have we got vape mail this week? Anybody got
I
vape
did
mail?
not. So it's pretty easy to skip me. 'Cause no, I did not.
I got an iStick Pico.
Very nice.
So
Everything is nice.
small. This is was my favorite mod, the Evic Mini, and you can see like much smaller, and it's a single 18650. So
It's nice.
75 watts, single 18650, $35, real tiny. Going smaller. I'll be on a single like next week.
Stealthy pocket mod.
I
Right to a single
I got herpes from a disposable. That's what I got this week.
It's oversharing.
Thanks for that. Ed.
Those sores go away.
Yeah, they go away. It's not the kind of enjoyment I wanted.
I got, what did I get here? I got some new
Did
juice.
you get Hep C?
I did not. That's one of Rodney's juices. But I do have from Island Time Vapors. This is Red Myth and Blue Myth. And no, I do not have a lisp, and I'm not trying to say mist.
That's
Red
what it
Myth
sounded
and
like.
Blue
We
Myth.
didn't want to say anything, Cindy Brady, but it's all right. Go ahead.
Is that your Boniva flavor do you choose?
And I also built the Velocity with Clapton's, and I got to say, other than having a ultra long wrap up time, there's so much residual heat. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the heat coefficient in these coils that I'm using, but I'm not feeling it. I might have
I
to
think
try
you've become a vaping
different
lightweight
build.
now.
That may also be it.
You should definitely try the notch coils.
The notch coils. Did you order more of them?
More of them? I
I know
have.
you like to order things
them.
from China.
Yeah, notch
Look, he's
coils.
got them handy too.
Yeah, well, because I got to rebuild one.
Just go ahead and pass it through. Pass it through to me.
Pass it down, right?
Yeah. Wait, where are you at? Put us on the floor. Four of us?
Yeah.
Four. Oh, you're down there, so here you go.
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh. All right. We're good.
Sounded like it hit the desk.
It hit his desk. He dropped it.
All right. So should we address the elephant in the room?
Yeah,
I'm
let's
not
do
talking
that.
about myself.
Like my new box mod?
Why did we name the show That's All, folks? That's what.
Yeah.
Why did
That's-
we?
That's what the,
We're going to be going off the air.
yes.
You can call it. Some people have said we should call it a moratorium, but
or a hiatus.
or a hiatus. Yeah, hiatus would be a better word for it. We may end up doing a couple future episodes. Not sure yet, but it's going to be kind of dependent on what happens here.
It would be
And this has
impromptu.
nothing to do with the FDA guidelines. Obviously, that's not something that we could have known was coming down the pipe, but there's plenty to talk about right now. And the truth is that Dane and myself, we both have a lot of stuff going on right now, which is making any type of time commitment difficult. And Ed is
And
no longer.
I'm in Iowa
living
again.
with us. Yes, he's traveling across the Midwest, taking in the sights.
But we haven't asked Jerry why.
Yes.
He just left me out. Because I'm not
normal.
busy at all.
Jerry's in the Coast Guard. He has ships to save.
I have shit
That's
to
true.
say,
That ship
People to
is
rescue.
people to rescue, grass to cut, and then Tuesday nights I could actually watch Deadliest Catch and Ink Master live.
Wow.
As opposed to DVRing for
Yeah,
the
exactly.
next day.
At 1 a.m.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that's the scoop.
Yeah, we're
The vapor scoop.
we thought long and hard about it though. We this isn't a decision that just happened overnight. We've actually been discussing this for quite some time, and we all decided it's best. We all also said to each other, "It's not you, it's me," and you can have the record collection and all that stuff.
I don't even remember saying that.
we did all. But no, there's absolutely no bad blood, and I'll kick this off at all, saying that there's always been no other place I'd rather be on Tuesday night with these three guys, because it's always been a blast, especially Monday nights. And I wish we had flies on the wall to see those conversations, because those are legendary.
And honestly, I think this show carried on longer than it would have if it wasn't for the fact that we just like getting together and shooting the shit with each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
DuroSig said he's going to be taking over the time slot, so we're good.
There we go. Duro Sigs in. Every Tuesday night. Don't call James to help you with setup.
I'm sure he's got it. He's a technical guy too.
Who gets custody of the bag of dicks, or do you just divide it up?
We were talking about doing a giveaway for each one. There's 10 in the bag.
Yeah.
I think we should take them to every major vape meet and just bitch slap somebody in the face with and then that's how you can tell who the winner is.
You, sir, are a douche.
Yep. There you go.
There it is. Where did I have this?
I'll see your vape cloud with my dildo.
All right. we actually have a couple things we want to talk about
This show's
of a serious nature.
Or-
Huh?
We do. Are we leading off with the first link there?
No, real quick. VCC Vegas happened. What was it, last weekend?
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, and so they had a pretty good turnout. This was, I believe it was one of the advocacy sessions. And CASA and Not Blowing Smoke and Vaping Militia all spoke at this advocacy session. And I believe SFATA as well. But this is a picture that somebody had taken of the crowd, and of course, you know, there's people from a couple different vape news organizations that are talking about what a great turnout this was. Alex Clark had a good point, and this doesn't take anything away from the fact that there was a good turnout and that people were actually interested in hearing about the steps we are going to be taking and what next steps to take as a vendor, but at the same time, it's something that's important. Alex Clark says, I do need to offer some clarification, though. This was not a spontaneous show of interest. A disturbingly large number of people here attended because they were essentially told to. The show was shut down 15 minutes before the doors were open to the public, and the CCI crew walked the aisles basically demanding that everyone come to the stage. Although no one was actually forced to attend, there was coercion involved. We still have a very long way to go. So you can't really safely rest on your laurels and say that now that we know we have a fight, we're motivated, because that is not the case, or at least it doesn't appear to be the case yet.
Yeah, it's very true. And there were advocates who were up on stage who, in this humble viewer's opinion, really were addressing the crowd with language that doesn't really represent us well when there are members of mainstream media there and people are watching you. You might want to think twice about doing that in the future. That really doesn't come off very well. You know, the whole mic drop thing has kind of gotten out of control here, where people are walking up there screaming off, "We don't fucking care. We're going to fuck the FDA," and boom, and walk away. That impact may have an instant hard-on for some of your audience members, but for the most part, it's not so great.
Yeah.
Really not great.
So the one good thing that I noticed, though, is if you look at the CASA Facebook page, They actually started a thread where you can post about a brick and mortar store in your area that is actively participating in educating other vapors about what's going on with the FDA regs. And that's encouraging because, as a lot of you know, CASA has always been very careful about the type of posts they allow in their group. They don't want it to promote any particular product or shop, but they are allowing you to post pictures of a vendor, like if you have a brick and mortar that is doing a really good job of educating people, and that's pretty valuable. I'm glad to see them do that.
Yeah, me too.
This was another thing that was pretty interesting here. This was a response from the FDA regarding DIY, and this was what was that? 510, when they told everybody to give the FDA questions.
Yeah, May 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this was in response to a question about if this person could DIY. You indicated that you are a consumer that mixes e-liquids in your home for personal use. If you are mixing these components for personal consumption only, then you are not regulated by the FDA. If you are mixing these components and then selling them to others, you would be considered both a retailer and a manufacturer. A retailer includes any person who sells tobacco products to individuals for personal consumption, and a manufacturer means any person, including any repacker and or relabeler, who manufactures, fabricates, assembles, processes, or labels a finished tobacco product. So on the surface, this looks really encouraging, doesn't it? But you have to realize that they can very easily regulate the supply of nicotine. So.
Well, and that's my question, right? That's really the bottom line for me. They don't allude in that response or in any other about A, the availability of nicotine, and B, the restriction and or regulation of that nicotine. And until I see that, they can.
But how can they? Because nicotine can be used for so many other things outside of... Just like PG and VG, they can't do anything about that because it's used for other things.
Remember the word intent in the deeming regulations, right? Intent
Correct.
to use a product in a vaporizer. Now, it's pretty easy to dismiss the intent with the other innocuous ingredients like flavoring and PG and VG. Those are easy. But when you're talking about nicotine and you don't own a farm or anything like that, like if you have an address in, say, Manhattan, and you're ordering large amounts of nicotine, it's going to raise a red flag. And I don't know. I don't know how they're going to restrict that. I don't know how they're going to enforce it.
Well, I mean, come on. In all honesty, if you're mixing for yourself, how much nicotine do you actually need? I mean, you can probably get... I wouldn't recommend anybody getting a 100 milligram bottle, but you can get that. I think it was 120 mil, or maybe it was 200 milliliter bottle. I don't think they're going to come after you.
You look at the guidelines from the TPD. I think they will, because they're already talking about all the CDC figures. The Center for Disease Control and the Poison Center calls and everything else. And that's already out there. That's a bug in their ear. So they will restrict it. And Jeannie even said it in the chat. She's like, Nick will have to come from a manufacturer.
Right.
So, and then as a manufacturer, if you sell Nick to somebody, you're putting yourself in jeopardy. I know a lot of this is hypotheticals, but the truth is these are things that have been on our minds since these regs came out. And I'm sure a lot of other people have had the same kind of questions. Speaking of Nick, we're going to talk about something else too, which is this tobacco-free nicotine. And I'm not sure if I can confirm it, but I was told that this has tobacco-free nicotine. This is fresh vapor liquid kiwi berries, so synthetic nicotine. But there's a couple companies that are selling products. I guess they were originally doing it to get around taxation issues, which makes sense. I'm still not sold on the whole synthetic nicotine thing. I seem to remember Dr. Kistler or someone saying that synthetic nicotine did some kind of strange things. I mean, They're claiming it's pure, but there's a couple different companies out there that are producing it. One of them is called Next Generation Labs. And let me go ahead and pull this source up here. So this is Next Generation Labs website, PharmaNic, and they apparently make a nicotine that is synthetic. And a lot of this seems like marketing speak to me, Dane.
It is, and from what I read on the website, it seemed like it to me too. There's a little bit of science speak on there that really doesn't go into the process of how this is created. Now I understand it's probably proprietary and they don't want to release it yet. I have a feeling that this is one of those let's get this to market before we never have a chance to get it to market type things. And who knows how rushed this product is.
And they even talk about a proprietary patent pending process where a unique multi-step synthesis has been pioneered, established, refined, and completely developed to an industrial production scale process. Patent pending synthetic manufacturing protocols, multi-step synthetic method. They won't sell this to DIYers.
No, cost prohibitive.
It's cost prohibitive, but they've kind of created this scale, which would cause it to be cost prohibitive. So even if you look at samples, 3 grams, 3,000 milligrams of TFN nicotine, $250 per sample. So that's 100 milligrams per milliliter, 30 ml bottle. So this is obviously geared towards manufacturers. There are a couple companies that are using it already. Somebody from ECF did actually ask about samples, and this was the response. MOQ is 5 kilograms. Price per kilogram is $5,000, which works out to half a penny per milligram. Lead time is 6 weeks. They're allowing 1 kilogram purchases with a cost of $10,000. So that means that you would be at $250 for 1 liter of 25 milligram per milliliter nicotine. So
good Lord, is this like a Saudi prince or something?
I don't know. I guess the point here is that what relevance does this actually have, given that the FDA came out with the deeming, the FDA regs came out? I mean, they can easily restrict it because, I mean, even though it doesn't have tobacco in it, you still have to say it's made from tobacco.
Right.
It contains nicotine. I don't think there's any loophole to exploit there.
No, there isn't. That was that's crazy. And their timing is horribly bad.
Huh. Yeah, Jeannie is saying that the synthetic is $666.66 a bottle. Yeah. So there's a couple companies that are offering this nicotine. One of them, I actually got an email from Mad Vapes today, and apparently, is it Hold Fast Vapors is offering?
Yes, Mad Vapes.
Yeah. Sour Dream, and this has the synthetic nicotine in it. TFN trademark, tobacco.
How much is it?
Nicotine. $21.99 per 30 mil. So again, if they're buying a big enough quantity, apparently it's relatively cost effective. But I don't know how you're going to get around the deeming regs with something like that.
Yeah, I don't think this is the first bad business decision we're going to see vendors make over the next few months and couple of years. There's going to be more, and this was certainly one of them, and there's going to be plenty more.
I think that's all I've got. I know you wanted to talk about the letter a little bit, Dane, so...
Yeah, recently Ron Johnson wrote a letter to the FDA. I'm sure everybody's heard about it now. He had wanted to question said FDA on the deeming regulations. I'm not going to read this whole letter. We will put a link somewhere in the description of something like that. But
who's Ron Johnson again?
Ron Johnson is
The Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental
Correct.
Affairs. So he's a senator, right, from... It said in here.
Yeah, I do not know his home state, and I probably should have known that, but I do not. But he sent a letter to Robert Califf, the commissioner of the FDA, and just a couple of excerpts from it is the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs is examining the regulatory burdens that federal agencies place on small business. So he basically put this in the slant initially of small business, which is good and it's absolutely correct. On May 5th, 2016, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration finalized a new regulation that expanded its authority over e-cigarettes. I write to you to request your assistance in understanding the consequences that this new regulation may have on small businesses and public health. According to you, the FDA, the final rule extends the agency's tobacco product authorities in the FDA Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, as amended by the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act, or the PACT Act, to include other products such as e-cigarettes. The new rule prohibits the sale of e-cigarettes to people under the age of 18, which very well it should. So he basically goes on to ask them to justify every bit of the FDA deeming regulations, which is a very good thing. So if you have a chance to contact Mr. Johnson, please do so. He is from Wisconsin. Thank you very much there, Eric in chat. So thank him very much and show him your support. And let's hope that the FDA actually answers him. I'm not very hopeful that they will, but who knows? Stranger things have happened.
One of the interesting things that happened is New Jersey had their flavor ban. And the initial vote for that did not go in our favor.
No. It is going to committee again.
Yes.
So it will be going to committee again. So it's certainly not dead, and it's certainly not a lost cause. So it's something for everyone who lives in New Jersey to continue to be vigilant about, because it's going to go back again, and you have some time between now and when they do to approach those politicians to attempt to influence their vote. What was the first vote? Was it 6-2, 9-2, something like that?
Remember.
One of them was an abstention. I know that.
Yeah.
So one person did not vote.
One thing that I like, though, is that this sign kind of made the rounds here. And this was, I believe, Mike Moran at Firehouse E-Cig and Vapor created the sign. And this is now circulating and making the rounds. So there were a lot of people at the rally at the New Jersey State House that had this. They had different signs with whatever flavor they quit using. And that is a good thing to have. It shows that you quit using something other than tobacco and menthol. Go figure. Because I'm sure the majority of us here don't just use flavors that are tobacco and menthol, if any. And this is the actual sign, so we'll go ahead and link that too if you want to grab it and print it out. So that was good. And then the other thing that has been circulating, of course, A Billion Lives, Aaron Biebert and some of his crew were over in New Zealand for the premiere of their film there, and it was very well received, but it is seeking distribution. So people have been requesting it on Netflix, and I would encourage people to go ahead and continue to request this on Netflix via the chat with support option. You can do a live chat with Netflix representatives, and they do tally all those requests, so this may make a difference here. The film is seeking actual distribution, though, because unless it makes the rounds and garners more attention, we don't want it doomed to just stay in a corner of the internet somewhere where it's simply just watched by vapors. It would be good to get this some national media attention. So
Absolutely.
That's the skinny on that. And that's pretty much all I got. I was in training all day today, which was difficult.
I was listening to really sad songs on Spotify, so I'm not really up here to talk to you about this stuff.
James was binge watching The Incredible Hulk.
That's right. I've got our music for the end of Inside Vaping.
Well, why don't you keep playing that behind this next segment here? Actually, Yeah, you can keep that as background
Shoot
music
yourself
if
after
you
a
like.
while.
I should. So what do we got, Dane? What do we want to talk about?
So now, obviously we've announced that this is it for us. We're leaving. So we have a few questions that we can answer that have come up, and we'll talk about those. Can you bring my background music just down a little?
Yeah, it's a little loud.
Blow that music.
Just a
I
little
can't
bit.
tell.
Oh my god, it was a little loud. All right, so where are we going? Why are we? Well, we already explained why we're going, but where are we going? I'll start. I'll speak for myself. I'm not really going anywhere. I probably won't be as active in the vaping community per se as you see me here. I mean, I certainly will be locally. For those of you who either live or know people who live in Arizona, we actually have Matt Morales, who has been on this broadcast before. He's actually running for state representative here, and we are pushing very hard to try to get him elected. We are also very proud to say, although it's really a moot point at this point, really, that we have no pending state legislation against e-cigs in this state, and it's something we're very proud of, and we kind of want to keep it that way, and hopefully the whole federal house of cards won't come falling down upon us. I'm not very hopeful about that either, but I'm really not going anywhere. I am a chef, and I instruct and I teach, and that's what I do, and I'll continue doing that. I go to a lot of baseball games, and I will continue to do that. And that's about it. What about you, Jerry?
Well, I'm just about to film my last review, so I'm gonna kind of back away completely for now. I was really disappointed with the announcement on the deeming regs, and I feel as a community we failed. So I've been kind of disenfranchised with a lot of things. There's a lot of good people out there, but it makes up, what do we say, less than 5%, if that, of the community that really took up this fight. And yeah, so given that, and just kind of the lack of interest in a lot of the devices coming out and innovations, I'm just going to step back and become a guy that uses e-cigs, as we talked about.
Yeah, and Jerry had made a good point. We were in a pre-show meeting last night, and I think this was certainly a highlight of the discussion for me. Jerry had made a good analogy. I think that a lot of vapors or supposed vapors need to ask themselves, are you a vapor or are you a person who uses e-cigs? And I think that's an outstanding question, and it's a fair one. And I think a lot of people should ask themselves that question.
Yeah. And that's something that I've thought a lot about lately too, is it's easy to get caught up in this. And I've been vaping for, I don't know, it's over 5 years now, probably close to 6. And in that time, I've gone through that stage where I'm maniacally collecting every single mod that I can get my hands on and everything else. And then, I get to a certain point. I got to a certain point in my vaping journey where that just ceased to be what everything was the same after a while. I was spending money on it, and it was all the same. Now, granted, that's back when mechs were the top of the heap, mechs and jennies. And now things have changed. We've got a lot of nice regulated devices that we can vape on. And we have a plethora of good tanks. Back when I started, that was not the case. You had things like, you had some stuff that was decent.
Yeah.
You had the Bully A2TM. At the time, I thought the Odysseus from the Golden Greek was freaking awesome. But now it seems kind of fiddly when you talk about resistance and non-resistance wires and having to weld those together and everything. I mean, Jerry's familiar with that stuff. And the thing is, I've just gotten to the point where now I am a vapor, but I'm not an enthusiast. And that kind of faded away after a while. And I know there's still people that are very, very taken with the whole vape life thing for lack of a better term. For some reason, I think we've all gotten to the point where we're a little bit tired of that. Maybe not Ed, but everybody else has gotten to the point where we're tired of the fact that now the vape life is something that is celebrated to the point of where, you have to have a certain look. You got to wear your flat brim or your brimless hat. And you got to
neck tattoos.
Look like Ed.
Oh, did I say that? I didn't mean to say that. Neck tattoos.
And I guess the question that we were all asking is anything that we say relevant anymore? Or are we all just becoming curmudgeons?
I know I am. So that's been pretty easy. I know I've been a curmudgeon, and I'll tell you, every handlebar mustached hipster that's walked in front of me, I want to beat to death with a lead pole. And
them and the Chinese.
That too, yeah. Them and
You
the
just want
Chinese.
to punch you want to punch the Chinese in the face, take a selfie
But
stick, and then
my advice to them is there's life out there. There's life out there. There's a life out there to live. Because before you know it, you're going to be an old curmudgeon, very much like myself. And you're going to realize that you might have probably missed out on some things along the way. Don't do that. Don't do that. Live your life. Absolutely fight for this if it's something you're passionate for, and we'll continue to do that as well. We just won't do it publicly, but we will continue to fight for this product because we believe in it. But we believe in it for what it was intended for, and that was to help people quit smoking.
Yeah, and that's what people forgot, because the lifestyle and the entertainment component of what it is to be a vapor and overtook the underlying reason why we all do this, right? So that became the face of the community, and we fell asleep at the switch, and look what happened.
Yeah.
Because it morphed into something that it really wasn't intended to be. And not knocking anybody that practices that lifestyles are into that, but we fucked up. For all that became the face of this community, and advocacy was only for the few, very few of of that group that tried to make a difference, and we didn't do it. We didn't move the needle.
And we have no skin in the game here, and we've said that all along, and I can't emphasize that enough, because we've advocated for this product for our passion of the product itself. Look, I'm gonna. I don't care if it's controversial. It's the last show. Whenever I talk to new advocates and anybody who's ready to start advocating seriously at the state and federal level for this product, this is the advice I give them. Advocate for the right to vape, not the vapor. Now, some people say, dude, you're a dick. No, I'm not a dick. Because the human side of this is always going to be fallible. Look at our industry. Look where it's headed. It's become a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Advocate for the right, not the vapor, and you will be much better off. And that's exactly what we've tried to do. I still don't believe in my heart of hearts that we failed yet. I never believe anything is over until that proverbial fat lady sings. But I will tell you this, she's warming up, ladies and gentlemen, and she is ready for the curtain to go up. It's now.
Now, we were going to talk a little bit about would we have done anything differently? Knowing what we know now as the group of panelists that is Inside Vaping, would we have done anything differently? And what I'd like to level before even that discussion is, as an industry, what could we have done differently? Knowing what we know now. And granted, there's people out there that say we knew this was coming a year ago. We knew this was coming. We knew we could guess what the deeming regs would look like, and we weren't prepared for it. And I would agree with that. But at the same time, you have to think about, this is something that the libertarian side of me has a huge issue with. But public perception is a huge part of this fight. And it's a huge part of the obstacles and hurdles that we face now. Would you agree with that, Dane?
Yeah. I was thinking about something this morning too, and I think somebody had just, was talking about small business in chat. Here's a question: if we had anything to do differently, we need to look at this industry, and I'm not talking about brick and mortars because that takes licenses, employees, and money to open. Let's talk about online businesses for a minute. How many of those online businesses in this industry are legit? Number? Anyone? How many are legit? How many are reporting those as either an LLC or an actual source of income that are legit?
Yeah, I have no idea.
This whole counterculture and subculture, look, there are a lot of people who sell merchandise on the internet who have no business doing it. And they're doing it. Now look, I'm not here to beat up capitalism. If you want to make money, that's great. But there are ways to go about it. And when this industry was held underneath a microscope, which it is, and it's being held under the microscope by the government, they haven't even touched that aspect of it yet.
Yeah.
Well, everything was fragmented, and now you see everybody joining forces, right? But for years, there were people in it for the money. There were people, taking different approaches. There was no unity. There was no real unity. And, it's like a scattergun approach to this thing. And I never really saw it come together in a cohesive direction. And now what are we faced with? This is your fucking future right here.
Is that Ed who just dropped?
Huh?
Yeah, Ed dropped.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And I would have preached. I certainly would have preached image a lot more. But there was no way to know, at least that it would become what it's become. Because I think initially at first I didn't see it coming, but.
There we go. He's back.
Oh, good.
Holiday and internet.
Yeah, I saw the little Wi-Fi bars disappear.
There's a reason, and look, I'm not going to get into the political discussion, but Donald Trump is kind of an anomaly in this whole thing because for some reason he has managed to insult and, just make an ass of himself on so many different occasions with people, with entire nations, and he still manages to pull ahead in the polls. And
that's a societal thing to me. And
yeah, and it might be, but the thing is, normally you need somebody like an image consultant. When you run for a political office, when you're trying to get something accomplished, you want people to take you seriously.
It's very constructed.
You have to be very conscious of the image that you represent. And I think that's one of the areas where we kind of fell short. I'm not saying that's the entire reason that this is happening, because obviously there's other things that go into the mix. There's, master settlement agreement money. There are different organizations. There's big pharma and big tobacco, which could be on the back end of this thing. The other thing too, though, that I want to address. Everybody keeps saying, well, why does Big Tobacco support Cole Bishop? My understanding is they supported H.R. 2058 as well initially. But the truth is, if you have existing products on the market, wouldn't you support a bill that has the best chance of getting through? And Big Tobacco has existing products on the market, Yeah. So yeah, they're looking for an avenue by which they can continue to sell their products, and then they can make those substantial equivalency claims as well.
But you use the Trump analogy, and you look at the elections, and you look at what Ted Cruz did to try to steal delegates, or how to work the systems in all the state caucuses. Right? A lot of this is knowing how to work the system. We went out at thinking, if we have a voice, if we go to hearings, if we do all this stuff, petitions, they're going to listen to the voice of the people, which is bullshit. That's not how the wheels of government work.
I think trade organizations in the beginning were missing, and I think if vendors and people who were starting to invest in this industry heavily got into trade organizations in the beginning, we wouldn't have been playing catch up for so long, because really we were playing catch up, and there were so many fires to put out on all fronts here. We had the state level, then we had the Fed level, then the Fed died down, then the state came back, and it was literally back and forth the whole time. And I think it made it difficult because it spread this industry thin. And I think if we'd had bigger trade organizations, if people could have agreed to actually be in one, which probably would have been a feat amongst itself, I think we might have stood a little better chance, maybe not at the federal level, but certainly at the state level in some of those overbearing states that are now really turning the screws to the vape industry. I think look, don't get me wrong. I don't think we could have prolonged this particular punch that the FDA has thrown. This was coming. And it was really a question of how big, and they hit you with the biggest haymaker they had. And now it's about how well this industry is going to get up, regroup, and find a way to make itself legitimate. And I'm going to say the word legitimate again. You need to make yourself legitimate.
Well, look, I sympathize with the fact that when this whole thing started, 5-6 years ago, how many e-liquid companies were out there? I mean, I would say a conservative estimate 5 or 6 years ago. Let's just think on the high side. I'm thinking maybe maybe 200?
Yeah.
You think it was more than that? Because I think it's less. No,
I think that's probably pretty close to it. Yeah.
Right. And you look at how many are on the market today, and you look at the last 2 years for us, which has been a combination of a blessing and a curse, because what do we have now? We have much more reasonable hardware that's accessible, much better hardware in a lot of cases that is accessible and affordable. We have a plethora of different flavors that we can select, choose from. That's all great. Let me add Ed back in here. I don't think the internet at the Howard Johnson is all that.
Howard Johnson.
Hojo's Hojo internet.
So the thing is, the reason that it's a blessing and a curse, so the blessing is the availability and the price of products. That's great. The curse part of it is the fact that I think it was about 2 years ago that you started having all of the companies with the trademark infringement, the cartoony labels. That's when SUB-OHMing really took off.
Yep.
And then it got really ridiculous really quick.
Yeah, and then we started to see the rash of mechanical failures after
You know what? Again, getting back to that libertarian thing, my personal opinion, go ahead. Vape how you want. Vape what you want. But I'm a realist. I realize the type of society that we live in. And look, you know what? This is where I could get in so much trouble by getting political with this. But political correctness, and boy, you know what? I'm just going to drop it because I'm going into an area that I can't.
It's the last show. Let it fly.
I can't come back from some of this stuff, but I abhor the level of political correctness that we have to adhere to these days. I really do. I really do. And the reality is, the libertarian side of me says you should be able to vape what you want, when you want, with whatever device you want. The realist says that's not going to make it on an open market. That is not going to make it. If you look at the type of restrictions that not just the FDA, but the government has put on every aspect of our lives, and we are talking about a vice here. I know everybody wants to talk about it as being a lifestyle.
That's right.
Guess what? It's a vice.
Yeah, it is. And the sooner you come to grips with that fact, the better off you'll be, because that's exactly how it's viewed everywhere else outside of this industry.
Yeah. And that's why, I listened to the Joe Rogan show, the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had Tom Pop on. It was a great show. Fantastic show. But Joe and Tom started talking about, the nostalgia of, like the chairman of the board Frank Sinatra with his cigarette in his hand, and how it was such a cool little thing that they used in movies to gesture with, and it looked cool. And then he just started talking about how, a vapor with a box mod, it looks kind of douchey. Looks like they're sucking a robot dick. I mean, and look, it's funny when you hear it, and I know there's people that would get insulted when they hear that, but did I think 5 years ago that I was going to go out into public with something like this and like actually walk around with it? No.
And Jerry and I talked about that in pre-show as well. Did we talked about being older people in our circle of friends. I always had to justify this. Always. I always did. They're like, what is that? And I cannot tell you ad nauseum how many times I explained it, and always the response was the same. Well, that's kind of stupid. Why would you do anything to hurt yourself even more after you quit smoking?
Mm-hmm.
It was always the same thing. We were always up against that same argument over and over and over and over and over.
Well, that's the disinformation that mainly affected the people outside the community, which, that was the biggest issue. We all knew the deal, but it was everybody else that believed what they heard in the media and instantly labeled this as dangerous.
Yeah, it's true.
They had no interest. They had no skin in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So the next question here, James, is what have we accomplished this show? And Jerry actually asked one too. Have we moved the needle? So it's a two-part question. What have we accomplished, and have we really moved the needle when it comes to getting the word out about THR and things like that?
I think there's certain cases where we have. I would say in general, one of the things that this show suffers from that a lot of different media and podcast shows within this industry suffer from is just lack of exposure to an outside audience. And granted, the very topics that we discuss here, specifically advocacy, they're probably not going to be of great interest to the outside viewer. So that's a given. But I think the scope of our scope of influence is pretty small. And again, that's just my opinion. There are some shows like we did the snooze show. Okay.
Yeah.
So that brought a whole new form of modified risk or reduced harm tobacco product knowledge to a whole new audience. So I think that was beneficial. We had Aaron Biebert on from A Billion Lives. And that was beneficial because at the time, a lot of people had not heard about the film. The trailer had just hit. So those are all beneficial things. I know that we've gotten a couple emails over the years from people who have talked to friends and family or found out through YouTube about the show. What happened to all the audio and video? I think we just lost the entire call. Let's try this again.
Wow, now I dropped off of there too.
Yeah, I saw that.
Were you trying to
That's
reach
kinda
that other
strange.
Skype account?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I think that was Ed calling in, or it was a weird reconnect.
I don't have your video up.
Well, see, look here. There's a viewer right there in chat. You guys help me stay away from smoking. That's worth something. Well, thank you, because that matters, and that's essentially what we tried to do. Castello, inside snoozing will be large. I have tried to talk James into that inside snoozing bit there.
I think your video is still off, Dane.
Is it?
Yeah, Jerry, if you can bring the other one up, I don't think I'm going to be able to get Ed back. So
Yeah,
I'll
it's
just-
online.
There, my
one more
video's
time.
back up. Yay, yay.
Oh, that's weird. You guys are both in widescreen. I've never seen it.
It was weird how that whole thing dropped and then it rang really fast.
Did
After
Skype just update for us?
It was weird. Ed says he's back now if you want to add him.
Oh, okay. I'll try again. So here's the thing. I do think we had some impact, and that's worth it to me. It's. I don't know, Dane. You can speak to this. We're not in. We never did this for monetary reasons. We never had any ulterior motives.
No, that's true. And way back in the beginning, when Ed and I started this, we wanted to have a place where vapors could go to ask questions. And selfishly, I had Ed on there because he was such a wealth of information for new vapors. And he was. And there were so many people with so many questions. I thought this was a good place for us to raise topics about vaping, about what new products to use, how to use them safely, because I was one of those guys who would have conceivably went down the wrong road and probably have blown myself up if it weren't for people that helped along the way, especially Ed.
So yeah, I think that pretty much answers that question. I don't know.
So go ahead, Jared.
Well, because the focus of this show is advocacy, and you have the same group of great viewers, the loyal viewers that always come and see it. That's all you're going to reach, unless you broaden the scope of the content of the show to make it appealing to a wider group of people, and then you intersperse it with advocacy, so you expose somebody else to the topic, right? You're always going to get back to people who have a singular interest in this. So you'd have to create some sort of vaping variety show almost to grab everybody else, and increase your viewership so you can get that message out.
I agree. Well, thank you, Costello, and I'm gonna pimp Costello because what this guy does is amazing. First off, what you did on Facebook there today about the advocacy post on that vape store's brick and or their website opening up. Who is
that's the other Jerry.
Oh, it's the other Jerry. Okay. But what you did there was actually very cool, and I saw that. And for those of you who are not friends or following Costello on Facebook, do it. Absolutely do it. You owe it to yourself. That guy's a wealth of information, and you need to do it. Because there are people who advocate for this industry who you don't see every day, and he's one of them. And that, to me, is the definition of an advocate. The guys that are asking the difficult questions, the guys that are pushing back against politicians every time they make a ridiculous statement. Guys like Costello are on the front lines doing that. And that's what real vapors need to do every single day. And that guy does it every day. So, right there. Sorry, Costello, but I had to say that. All right. So, so we did that. Who have we reached? There are a lot of people to thank, and I'll start with them because I think my list might be the longest. First and foremost, I want to thank Ed Green for even agreeing to do this. And actually, Ed was probably one of the biggest influences on my early vaping life. That's for sure. I want to thank the people of the Windy City Vapors Club as well, because I certainly learned a lot from going to those meetings. I learned a ton about this industry. I certainly learned a ton about the product that I was using that I didn't know every single time I went there. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I would like to thank Dimitri. Let me dispel a rumor, too, while I'm talking about Dimitri, and I'll dispel this one pretty quick. There's been a lot of people that ask me, do you not like Dimitri? No, that's not it at all. I have the utmost respect for Dimitri, and I would hope that Dimitri himself knows that. And I have absolutely no ill will towards Dimitri whatsoever. Now, that being said, do I agree with everything Dimitri says? Absolutely not. But he doesn't agree with everything I say either, and that's what makes people people, and that's okay. But I'd certainly like to thank him, because being asked to do the vape team actually gave me a feeling of a bit of legitimacy of what I was doing. And for that, I am very, very grateful. The vape team, Jamie, CJ, James, definitely, of course, when you were there too. I'll get to James in a minute, though. And I really don't want to forget Stephanie Roberts here. Stephanie and I hit it off. We were in Miami, and we were doing one of the big meets there, one of the big events. And Stephanie and I did a lot of our shots and a lot of things together. Huh. And I miss Stephanie. I miss Stephanie in this industry. I think she had a great voice. I really liked what she did. I understand why she's not in it anymore. I get it. But But I wish she was back in it. I do. If there's anybody I forgot, certainly the people at Quest, when we were over there on Vapors TV, Case, Orion, you've always been very, very good to us. And it's certainly something we appreciate. They also make a damn good e-liquid if you're ever looking for one. And
I'm still trying to get Ed back.
There's a little pimping for them there. But we certainly want to thank Case and Orion from Quest, and I'll drop in there from time to time just because they're incredibly good people, and we always enjoyed our time there. Vapors TV, of course, for having us over there. Although you seem to be in a bit of a turmoil now. Well, shit happens, and when garbage in, garbage out. That's the best advice I can give to Mark Vaughn at this point. And really, that's what you can expect. But lastly, I want to thank these guys, all of them. Jerry, I haven't known you as long as the rest, but I've always been a big fanboy of you. Certainly of your videos. Again, that K-Fun build, dude, I was beating my face against a brick wall for 2 months. And watching your video, the light bulb came on. And I said, this is the guy who should be teaching people like me how to do these things. And I still believe that. I am very proud to call you friend. You have done an amazing service to this industry for everything that you have taught people and all the products that you help them to see that best fit their vaping needs. And that's what I liked about your videos better than any, is that they were always tailored to the needs of the people who would use them the most. And that's what really matters. That was a good fit, and it always was. And what can I say about James Martin? James, you are a brother to me. And I hope you know that. You always will be. And just because Inside Vaping now is kicked to the curb absolutely doesn't mean that you and I aren't going to hang out and make fun of things, because it still is one of my favorite things to do. We actually spent a week together in California on our bro honeymoon, so that was good. And
what are you saying? We were with our wives.
I will count this as some of the best times
Let's
in my
clarify
life.
That's
not
please.
true. We have no proof your wives.
It's true. They were there. We have pictures that they were there.
Photoshop.
Look at Ed saying Skype will not let him back into the call.
Yes. All right.
Yeah,
but everybody loves you. You're everybody's favorite knockoff of Steven Dorff.
Poor man Steven Dorff. But James, just know that you are my brother, and I certainly appreciate the absolute living hell that you put up with to produce this show.
I'm still dealing with it. This could quite possibly be the worst time I've had with screen regions, echo problems. I mean, it's actually kind of a fitting thing for the send-off episode. You pretty much thanked everybody. So you did the big Inaritu speech for the Academy Award acceptance.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a little long-winded, and they probably would have cut me off. But I had to get those out because they're very, very important.
There you go. Ed Green is the best dick in the bag of dicks. That's from External. So I guess I would say, yeah, we've I think we've definitely been on more networks than any other show at this point. But we would like to thank, of course, the Ohm page and the guys from the Plumes, because that was a great time that we had over there, and of course VP Live. And that doesn't mean everything's over. Again, I've thrown around the idea of doing a podcast, but it may just be a tobacco harm reduction podcast. So it's not necessarily going to center on vaping. And that's another thing that I would encourage you to do is, it's like that lady that I was talking to at work who had just started vaping. The first thing she said was, it's really, really hard for me to just vape. She said, I've tried, but I still need that cigarette in the morning. And all I told her was, look, you've made progress. You're drastically reducing the number of analog cigarettes that you smoke. So this is already a health benefit. So what it comes down to is do not judge someone for what they choose to do, and be cognizant of the fact that at the end of the day, this is a vice. Are you better off not vaping at all? Yes, I understand it's 95% safer. Go ahead and tell me about the Royal College of Physicians. I get it. I'm on your side. But are you better off not vaping at all?
Yes.
Yeah, from a health standpoint, you're better off not using any kind of stimulant whatsoever. There's people that argue that coffee and red wine and all these things are beneficial to you in very small doses, but that is not what I see the average vapor doing when they've got what is basically a pacifier in one hand for 6 to 10 hours out of the day, and they don't even let it leave their hand. So at the end of the day, it's a vice. And I choose to use Swedish snus, and I choose to vape, and those are my chosen vices. And it all comes down to what your personal acceptable risk level is. And that is a completely personal decision. And what you choose to do with your body is your business. So that's all I got. But
what about you, Jerry? Who you got a thank you list?
Oh, it's a small. What? Uh-oh. We're getting some feedback, huh?
It would be Inside Vaping without technical.
It was Captain Kirk. It wasn't my fault.
It was Captain Kirk.
No, I mean, you guys have become really great friends, and we've never actually met physically. I think, I'm sad this is, come at the end of my vaping career, but I'm so appreciative to all you guys for asking me to come on. And as I've told you guys, and, I've always felt disappointed that I was kind of getting out of the review game when you brought me on. I was hoping to bring, maybe that aspect into the show, but you guys always treated me as one of the four and as an equal, and certainly I look up to you guys and have learned so much from you guys, and you really opened my eyes to quite a bit, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and especially the Monday nights. So thank you guys. And if I look back, I have to say thanks to Phil Basardo, because without the guidance I got from his blog site, from Taste Your Juice, I was floundering trying to figure out where to start. So that was a big thing for me. And I like the hobby aspect of it, with the devices, and so I enjoyed his reviews. They're really technical, and but that kind of got me into reviewing. So I have to thank him, and I have to thank the people at my local vape shop, Fluid Vapor, because those guys were always, advocates. They always were concerned about what was going on in government and what it meant to the industry, and they catered to everybody, whether you were coming in there for the first time trying to quit smoking, or you needed advice on rebuildables. I mean, I got so much from those guys, to Rob and Peanut and Kim, and so I really thank them, and that's pretty much it. I haven't done a lot of vape meets. I really never got into that, so my circle has been like you guys, the Fluid guys, what I saw from Phil, definitely the Plume, Sean, for introducing me to you guys. I'm greatly appreciative of that, and won't forget it. Matt Cully from Suck My Mod, whatever the hell it's called.
Suck your mod, Matt.
But no, Matt was a guy I reached out to for some advice, and he was real quick to respond and help me out. So there's a lot of great people in this community, and they've all been, very supportive, and I appreciate all those guys.
Ed says he wants to thank all the vendors who donated the free stuff that we talked about on the show.
Yeah,
I think Jerry got the majority of the loot, and that's because he was still doing reviews. But that's a short list.
You did. He said his
that's a
first
very short list.
It is a very short list, very small.
Yeah, and the pay was great at Inside Vaping.
Yeah, I noticed we all have kung fu mouth. There's like a delay when we're talking. That's great.
That's kung fu mouth. Yes.
Just
we will crush
add that onto the list. of technical difficulties. So things that I won't miss are the freaking screen regions, man. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Glad
Yeah.
that's over
Well, how will we adapt to, how will we adapt to life after Inside Vaping, or the regs take effect too? We have that on there as well. But we all know it's pretty much snooze DIY, things like that. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, because I think we're all pretty adept now. Although I'm not, but I'll still rely on Ed and you guys to help me.
All right, really quick shout out here, Brandon Southern. It was a absolute pleasure to meet you at Vape Bash. I really enjoyed meeting so many of the viewers over the years, and that goes for Vape Team and everything else. And I'm very privileged to have met you guys in person, and I've built so many friendships out of this, Dane. And that's what I take away from this at the end of the day. Because, that means more to me than anything else. Because I will say this, I've got maybe one or two close friends that I've had since I was young, and that's it. But through vaping, I've met people that I will continue to have a relationship with after this show ends. And, Par and Jeannie and Duro and, Nathan, there's all these people. I'm looking at chat here. And a lot of these are people that we're familiar with because we see them every couple weeks during these shows. But there's a lot of people that I've interacted with, on Facebook and in person, and those are the most meaningful things that have come out of this for me. And look, we're never in this for the numbers. We're never in this for the fame.
No, that's for sure.
Let's face it, we could have taken different avenues if that's what we were going for. We would have been talking about whatever the hottest new version 10 tank out of China was, and trying to beat other reviewers to the punch, because that's the game. But that's pretty much it, man. That's all I got.
I know China will be resting easy now, thinking that I've given up on them. But relax, China. I'll be in Vegas again soon. You and I will we'll see each other again. Because the entire country will be there.
Let's do an after show. Let's have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely do an after show. I'd like to thank everybody who's always tuned in every week.
Yep.
Par, Duro, External, all of you who have tuned in every week. Castello, again, big ups to Castello. Again, if you're not friends or following Castello on any social media, I'm going to use my catchphrase here, Ed, a moron. Follow Castello. That guy is a wealth of information. And to watch the sparring that goes on with him and Ants groups is worth the price of admission. Absolutely worth the price of admission.
Yeah, Mike Getz, I'm thinking about going to Cincinnati in a couple weeks anyway. I'm trying to get my wife to go there. For some reason, she doesn't want to go to Ohio. It doesn't seem exciting enough to her. I told her that Jungle Gyms is worth the cost of admission of just traveling through Ohio.
Take her to the Montgomery Inn. Get some ribs.
There you go.
Ribs at the Montgomery Inn. I'll have to tell her that.
Oh yeah, worth it.
It's he and that's it. I didn't use your name because I didn't know if you wanted to. Ed West in the real world. It's my pleasure, believe me. We are very proud to call you a friend of this show, and I am certainly very proud to call you a friend. What you do, my friend, is outstanding. Thank you for doing it, because I know people don't thank you, and I know you don't look for it, but I'm going to thank you anyway, so thank you.
Yeah, and Nick Sternal is an asshole, but he's a likable asshole, and his brother is a scary dude, but he's actually nice in person, so...
Scary dude.
I'll just throw that. Yes, his brother is a scary dude. I've shared that story on the show about how I first met Kevin, but I
didn't know you were that afraid of him, though.
Oh yeah, in person I was, because he knocks on the window of a freaking Subway, and I think I'm going to get jacked. But that's it. I don't know. We're going to see you on the after show. And we will have a special broadcast here and there. So Just look for the announcement. And I'm thinking about doing something with Facebook video because it's actually pretty cool. They allow you to use the platform with XSplit or a similar broadcasting service, and then it's right there. So just little snippets going live. And real quick, the other thing that I am working on right now is 2.5 years ago, I registered an LLC and I was going to start selling e-liquid. And I was going to keep my name out of it. I was just going to do this on the side. Never did a thing with it. And everybody knows what happened with Indiana. So my wife and I are starting to make beard oil, which is a little bit different as a product, but
Can
that
you
is
vape
the
it?
newest. I'm sure someone will try at some point. But I would recommend that you do not vape beard oil.
Okay. Well, I don't have a beard and I have no hair, so it's a product I can't use, but I would buy it anyway.
You can use it in your nether hair area.
Oh man.
I would have to ask my wife.
Moisturize. All right. Okay, we're going over to the after show. Thank you, everybody.
Jump
All right,
And,
let me put a link in here.
Yes. While it's up. While that network is still up and running.
I know, right?
But thanks for
There it is.
watching, and we will catch you sometime in the future.
Take care, people. Fade to music.
Oh, don't play the song.
Don't play it? Now that you said that, I got to play it.
You play it.
You might
Do it.
I should just play this while that song is going on.
Good idea.
It's over.
Thanks for the memories.
Goodbye, Ed. Goodbye, Dane. Goodbye, Jerry.
Hi guys.
Good night, John Boy.
You know how long it took me to do that opening intro, dude?
Oh, you haven't ever let me forget.
I know. It was hard.